else got any compromises that they'd like to put forward? I like Allison's approach personally.
Except I would extend it
You'd extend it to a month?
to a month.
And do a month's grinding?
Basically 1 month.
Well, I'm wondering if we could defer the decision to the next meeting, ask somebody to go up and look at the pile and decide how, and get a proper report on how long it's gonna take to, grind it, and then agree on a, you know, so many hours a day for so long to get rid of what's up there. And, or have the fire chief look at it from a fire hazard perspective. Because it's a health and safety thing I'm concerned about at this point.
Just let me jump in. If in making that proposal, you should add to allow staff to comment on some of the factors that we're
Okay.
facing in making that decision, because as I said when I opened, there's some things that I'm not remembering exactly, and with all due respect to all the comments, there's elements of misinformation in what was being said.
Okay.
Right across from everybody that spoke.
So,
Everybody's saying what they need to say to make their point, but there's some points being missed. So, we need to have Brian Biddlecombe, we need to have Will weigh in on it, and we need to weigh in on it again from our own bylaw perspective.
and what about the environmental side of things?
Yeah, no, and we'll let Metro's, their requirements in terms of what you do on that site as well as burning are come into play. So we need to make the decision with more facts.
So we need to formalize that into a resolution, or can we just say,
I think
this is what we'd like done?
For a recommendation.
a request, that council requests staff
To investigate.
investigate a report back to
Report
council
back to
on
council.
Next meeting.
the next, possible next steps.
But your proposal that you allow grinding at whatever amount, say that, but that we comment on
With
that,
a,
and then you can.
with a view to, a temporary accommodation to be able to grind what's on the property.
And not accept any further.
And then in the end, you accept that or not, depending
I
on.
don't think we have,
That's-
Casey has to say a resolution here.
I know,
Yeah.
I know.
I've got the council request staff to investigate, report back to council at the next regular meeting.
The feasibility and implications of allowing the existing stockpile to be ground and no further acceptance of, and no acceptance of any further materials
Until
until a rezoning was
has been dealt
decided,
with.
has been dealt with.
Is that okay?
Do you want me to read it back to you?
You might wanna talk to the gentleman at the back there.
Who's that? Dave?
Dave, yeah. So,
We've
Yeah,
asked
Dave.
for a report from staff
You know, they would be,
and that all
well,
was in.
Dave hauls up there quite a bit, and it's gonna interfere with his other
those
stuff.
comments from Blown Waste would be part of the stuff.
Yeah, you do it to staff.
Oh, okay.
Could I just make one quick comment?
Yeah.
Basically, I'm being opposed to burning for many, many years. I think many people can attest to that. But on the other hand, we don't have a comprehensive plan for that sort of thing here on Bowen. Although I'm very much in favor that we do. But right now, I think what Mr. Weismuller is asking for is just a temporary permit, just to do what he can do. Right now, I only work on Bowen Island, always have and always will. But right now, I'm in actually the process of taking care of a lot of Bowen Island residents and their green waste and their land clearing. I have actually 3 containers right now out on sites. And you know, I don't know what I would do with them on behalf of the residents, but on the other hand, I kind of support what we should do here in the case of Ed Weismuller is somehow come up with some sort of temporary thing, but then we gotta come up with a comprehensive thing on Bowen Island. But to sort of stop things right now without giving a lot of people, not only myself, but other residents, no notice to that fact, you know, kind of interrupts things that are just happening this week, for example, on Bowen. Thank you.
Thanks.
So what is the motion?
I've got that council requests staff to investigate and report back to council at the next regular meeting, allowing, regarding the feasibility and implications of allowing the existing stockpile to be ground, and no acceptance of any further material until a rezoning application has been granted.
No, dealt with.
Dealt with? Okay, sorry.
So,
Can you read it once more?
Yes. That council requests staff to investigate and report back to council at the next regular meeting the feasibility and implications of allowing the existing stockpile to be ground and no acceptance of any further material until a rezoning application has been dealt with.
you need an of and implication.
Pardon me?
You need an of, I think feasibility and implications of it.
Of it, feasibility.
Oh, of allowing,
Of,
yeah, sorry, I didn't say that. Let me send it.
And I mean, I'm assuming in that means now look at Metro's rules, the zoning, you know.
Well, that's
the
that's staff,
the
that's
good
for
neighbor
staff,
policy,
basically.
Yeah,
that's staff.
has to give us the report.
yeah.
Yeah.
And you wanting this for 2 weeks from now? I think it's a lot of work for staff to do in the next 2 weeks, and I think it kind of pulls up the, it will lengthen the decision as well. I mean,
We sort of have to do it. Dave, can you take the stuff you're now collecting off island? What's the implication there?
It's just extra expense for Bowen Islanders right now,
Yeah.
because, you know, we don't have to take it to town, and it's, you know, more expensive and everything, and, however, I can do that. But on the other hand, by the way, I'm not the only one, but there are others, but I think, what we need is, and all of the residents need, is some sort of notice, okay, 10 days, 2 weeks, or whatever, you can't deal with it on the island, but all that I'm saying is that, right now, I can't take the stuff that I've got, but on the other hand, until we come up with a comprehensive plan about what we're going to do, I personally can't see what's wrong with a temporary, a thing that will let Ed get cleaned up, and then the islanders get notified, and then myself, I can get cleaned up as well. I have no problem with going along with what council says in terms of, in the future, say, not going up there until the plan has been discussed, but I think it would be too abrupt to do it here today and not give anybody any notice. Let's have a temporary thing, in my view, with all due respect, of just getting cleaned up what we have on the island, and then we can stop and proceed from there.
Thanks, Dave.
So,
And you're suggesting 10 days would be an adequate amount of time, adequate notice?
It's more like 3 weeks at this point, because our next regular meeting isn't until March the 12th.
no, that's not the point, so
The point is,
It's two
when
things
can we, when do we stop piling?
we need to
Today or 10 days from now, or?
I think,
make an announcement now that
Stockpile
it
is
is
not
in
legal there?
effect.
Just hold on a second.
But there has to be an allowance time of 2 weeks or 3 weeks if we wanna give it that long. There is no more.
Stockpile.
Basically, then they know that it has to be trucked off island.
but it can't legally be transferred to another site now. That's not legal.
We can't do anything.
No, no, the only legal option now is to truck it off island. And if we don't just, so how is anybody gonna pay any attention if we don't, this is trying to address it.
Well, the problem at the moment, right now, is that nobody has any idea that it's gonna cost as much as it will cost to do that. So, yes, there probably needs to be some temporary solution to it, which then goes back to, we need an answer, actually,
said March twelfth, which is our next regular meeting.
I'm
We're not meeting next week, so.
thinking even faster than that.
Well, I don't think we can do, we can't push staff there. There's a bit of a transition going on, as you know,
Yeah.
so it's really tough for staff. So-
Or you allow stockpiling and turn a blind eye to it for the moment and just let it go on as it's been going on for the moment, while all the other things
That's what
go
they're
on.
asking for.
It will.
And then, that's, the reality is it has to be solved through the solid waste management plan and to do things righteously in the end. Everybody on the island knows that, I mean, nobody doesn't know what we're saying here, so.
Well, having built a house and having relied on the contractor to know what the right rules were to get rid of my stump, I'm sorry, I bet you everybody that's building a house on this island thinks that what the contractor's doing for them is quite legal. And they might not be too happy to know that they weren't. I certainly was very upset when I found out what we'd done wasn't legal 15 years ago.
And it's also the extra bills, you know, that the homeowners, or the home builders are gonna tack on, that are not gonna make people terribly happy on the island, so. I think we have to deal with a temporary measure, and the temporary measure is to
Check out the site.
yeah, and just do with it and set a time limit.
My concern with this proposed resolution is it would heavily involve planning staff as well, which we
Yeah.
don't have. So I don't know how we can report back without that planning input in the next 2-3 weeks.
Is that the sort of thing we could hire the two contractors that did the air quality study, the lady from Canada?
There's a possibility of accessing help for that along with Brian Biddlecombe and Will Hilson. I suppose we could just look at, put it out there as it is and allow us to walk out of the room and see what we can do in terms of responding back. But Kathy Law makes a good point about timing. It wouldn't necessarily be by the 12th.
Which doesn't solve what the problem is facing us today.
Right.
We do have administrative and staffing issues, so to put more pressure on staff is, I don't think it's correct.
It does go back to Councillor Lucas's original suggestion that basically holding in abeyance relating to the operation of the horizontal tub grinder, subject to a letter of understanding that J&E will only grind during daytime hours until such time as rezoning application is dealt with, or a time frame that council
That might be the best thing.
figures, even if it's a month, 3 weeks, a month. But realistically, getting staff to do a report up in the next 3
No,
weeks,
it's not gonna
and it doesn't
happen.
solve that problem of what's going on right now.
We've got a few other smaller problems, like budgets and stuff.
That resolution allows them to still be taken up to the ground. So it's never gonna get rid of the problem.
Well, nothing's gonna get rid of
No,
the
nothing's
problem
gonna get rid of the problem. But-
until we deal with
But
it.
standing still just makes the problem worse, so.
That's right.
Maybe
Essentially,
I would be more preferable to extending the deadline on the request, because
I think that makes life really tough, Allison.
well,
I mean, I think we still need to go forward with what you discussed, but I think we still need an additional layer here, which is to deal with it immediately. Which is exactly what Kathy has just said, and which I've talked about. So I think that needs to be, and we,
And we need to all be on the same page.
put a
also.
timeline on it.
Yeah, because otherwise, without 4 votes, it's nothing, we're wasting our time.
It would pass 3-1, because there's only 4 members of council, if that's how it goes, if she votes against him.